Putting a dip in your hip, a glide in your stride. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe, with shows throughout the week. Everything you want, everything you could need. From the paranormal to the supernatural, from the spiritual to the unknown, from emotions to comedy. You can find us at Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and so much more. This is R.I.F.T Nation Network, the RNN. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
Sensitive/offensive content disclaimer. Please note that this podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects, triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues, explicit language. Occasionally, our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified expert.
Welcome. We are here. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome, friends. Come on in. I hope everybody's having a great evening. You are listening to Mysteries Beyond the Scenes, streaming live on the R.I.F.T Nation Network. We are streaming on Kick, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And maybe Rumble as well. I'm not sure. I think Rumble too. But we are streaming live tonight. I hope everybody's doing well on this lovely Wednesday evening here. It can't get any better than what we've got going on here. I'm telling you. This is going to be such a neat show tonight. I am so excited to bring this to you guys. But first, let's get a big shout out to everybody. Say good evening. I hope everybody's doing well. Shout out to the R.I.F.T sponsors of Dark Cabin Studios. That's our music on the intros and on everything that we do. We use Dark Cabin Studios. That music. I love that music. Also, Bo's Paranormal and Stanton Tours, the Haunted Tours of Stanton. So that's a huge shout out to our sponsors. So good evening, Miss Lee, and of course, lovely Rue. How are you guys? Miss Linda, welcome. How is everybody? Everybody's saying hi to everybody. Miss Michelle, Miss Monica, welcome. Come on in, you guys. I hope everybody's having a lovely Wednesday evening and had a great weekend. We're halfway there, you guys. Halfway there. And just a little heads up, because I just noticed this earlier. If any of you guys have watched The Otter's Den with Keith, we had talked last Monday about the possibility of earthquakes. And just this is going to be from now. I said the 10th, but it looks like it's starting to rev up a little bit now. You know, they had to cancel Taylor Swift's concerts over in Vienna in Austria because of terrorist threats. Apparently, they've caught some of the people. You know, my granddaughters, you all know, is a huge Swiftie. That's heartbreaking for those young girls. I mean, they wait, they scream listening to her music. It reminds me of when I was younger and the Beatles would come on. We would scream. I mean, I was like 5, but we would scream. I remember screaming. So it's just heartbreaking for those young girls. I hate that. So we've got things, if you look at the world stage, we've got Bangladesh, we've got the UK, we've got things in the cauldron stirring. That's exactly what the astrology is brewing up to. Just remember, no fear, because we don't do fear. And number 2, just pay attention to your surroundings. That's it. Just be careful in your surroundings. I know my face is in my phone way too much if I'm out in public. I don't pay attention like I used to. Don't do that until about 22nd, 23rd, and this will all pass. It's energy. We can make it. We'll make it. We just pay attention. So that's my what public service announcement. We're all safe though. It's going to be fine. It's just some weird transits going on, coming up with the full moon. So we'll get through it. But tonight, I'm so excited for this content. Let me give you a little background to it. I was watching a creator called Silver on the Scenes, right? Yes, Silver on the Scenes. He's a creator, and he was talking about the missing case of Sebastian Rogers, which we have covered here a couple of times. We've looked at the chart, not too many good timestamps with Sebastian's disappearance. Well, when he was doing his on his YouTube, he said, "You know, I don't know anything about remote viewing, but I'm not going to tune anything out because of the fact that the girl that was doing the remote viewing, the name of her channel, you have to check her out. She is a phenomenal medium. It's called The Wrecking Company. She has true crime oracle cards. Yes. And guess what? I ordered a deck from her. So we're going to have a pack of true crime oracle cards here. That's number 1 excitement. She also uses tarot cards with her oracle cards. Well, guess what? I've been reading tarot cards since I was 12. So she uses the oracle cards and then she pulls in her tarot cards to confirm. So hopefully we'll have them next week. I'm so excited to get these cards. So we'll use forensic astrology. We'll try to confirm it, and we'll see what the cards do for us. They're really a neat deck of cards. She designed them. Check her out. It's called The Reckoning Company. She's a medium. So getting back on subject, Silver is great. He is awesome, isn't he, Rue? He's a creator. He does go out and search. He's been searching for Sebastian. Well, he brought up the gal from the Reckoning Company and went through. She calls it scrying. I call it remote viewing. I don't know what you would call it. I don't know, Rue. What would you call it? Remote viewing or scrying? I guess it's kind of the same thing. And he noticed what she was drawing. He had actually been there at the actual place and searched. I can't make that up. So I thought, what is this? You know, I had never watched Silver on the Scenes. I watch a lot of creators. I had never seen him before. He's great. So I thought, what if I look at Sebastian's chart and see if the mapping will go to this area that they're talking about. So, because we didn't have, as you all know, we didn't have a good time for Sebastian, I had to do a little rabbit holing. Wait until you guys see when I took what they did, what they had done together, and they didn't know, she didn't know Silver. He had just watched her. They don't know one another. And added in the forensic astrology. Wait until you guys see this. It's pretty cool. That's why I'm so excited. So let's get started on this. I'm excited. Anybody jump in if you have anything to say. If you do remote viewing, Rue, I call it remote viewing. Same thing though. If anybody does remote viewing, I really like it. I think it would be something that we could also, why not give it a shot here as well? We're mysteries beyond the scenes. I look at divination this way. We are given a lot of these things that have been passed down for centuries. The remote viewing, the astrology, the tarot, anything, any bit of divination that can help a family, help somebody solve a crime, help anything. I'm all for it. Michael says it's just adding another tool in the tool belt. And I agree with that 100%. He's like, I'll try anything anybody gives me. It's another tool. So I like Michael's attitude. So let's get started on this because it's fascinating. It was fascinating. So this is, a little slide, remote viewing. And I like this slide. You never know who is watching. Ooh. I feel like this should be a Halloween show. I think this should be a Halloween show. So what is remote viewing? For those that don't know what remote viewing is. Remote viewing is a psychic ability to see distant objects or events that can occur. The CIA, the Army conducted research from the 1970s, and they say they extended it into the 90s. It was called Project Stargate. There were quite a bit of different projects that were out there that the CIA did investigative work on. I think they still use it, to be honest. I think they use it. Yeah, Rue, even the governments use remote viewing to spy on other countries. Absolutely. I found that out, Rue, while I was doing the investigation here. I believe they still use it. Now, they claim it was defunded and all this stuff, and it was under the arm of the CIA. Interesting, Rue, to spy. Russia uses remote viewing, apparently. What remote viewers with the government did, and I don't know if personal remote viewers do this or not, they are given a target or, like I have slides about it. It's very interesting. But also, what on the Reckoning Company, she basically gets out her pad and her pen and basically looks through her, what she calls her third eye or up here, to see what her intuition, clairvoyance is showing her. She drew the area, and I've got a picture of it. I mean, she's great. I think it's very interesting. So how do you remote? She said, just actually was thinking about it, was looking through her third eye, was very, very quiet, and it just came to her. Jean, I'm familiar with scrying and have done it, but haven't tried remote viewing. I think, I'm not sure, Jean, if it's the same. I think it kind of goes in the same category. I think scrying and remote viewing are pretty similar. Now, on remote viewing with the government, they probably did it wrong. This is how they basically did the remote viewing with the government. They had pictures cut up, get somebody to select pictures. The image should be real world pictures. Um, Ask them to pick a target picture that may be offensive, may not be, may be offensive. Oh, okay. That may not be offensive. Stack the images in a manila envelope and say absolutely nothing about them. You'll view them one at a time, getting feedback after each session. So you want to make as little mental noise as possible. Basically in this slide, you also get all your other senses involved. And I think that would be I've never tried remote viewing. However, I think that's very important. And Rue and Gina, you guys have tried scrying and remote viewing, is to get all of your senses involved, meaning a sense of smell, your taste, how you feel, and get into that zone. I think it's kind of a zone where a lot of people have to write. Now, when I would get what I would call clairvoyant clues, I would turn up music and block out everything in my mind. I couldn't hear anything, it would be so loud. And then I would write. When I was writing, the clues would come. Now, I've never tried to draw locations, but I would get 1 and 2 words at a time. It was never, oh, go down to the right corner and make a left and take 3. I never got that. I would get 1 or 2 words. It was never anything, extensive. And I think that's kind of similar. I'm not quite sure. But however, I kind of flipped over to the forensic astrology because of the accuracy of the astrology. Because forensic astrology and the mapping and the charts are so accurate. I mean, we're up in the 90s for 90 percentile for accuracy. I kind of put the clues to the side because A, it was difficult to do weekly, and B, I like the accuracy of forensic astrology. But I think if you can combine all of these things. Why not? It really adds to what what our goal is. Our goal is to find people. The idea is that your unconscious already knows everything there is to know about the target. It just has to communicate that to your conscious mind. It does that through your body with subtle sensations and feelings. So then, of course, you write down the sensory information that comes up, like visuals, smells, tastes, temperatures, dimensionals, and then you sketch it. You sketch what you get. And I think I'm sure that would be a great practice. I think it's really cool. I loved watching it. I loved watching what she did, and it was just neat. I think it's either Gina. Do you know the difference between scrying and remote viewing? I'm not sure. I think with scrying, there we go. So here would be the remote view. Here's a remote viewing example. Just a little sketch like water. Just, you don't have to be an artist. You don't have to be an artist at all. So then what happens when you combine forensic astrology and the remote viewing? Okay. So just to give you a little background information, we'll just do a very quick background on Sebastian for those that are listening, or if anybody listens in, just give you some background on Sebastian. Sebastian, in February of last year, went missing from Hendersonville, I almost said Kentucky, Tennessee. The timeline that we have on Sebastian, who is a 15-year-old autistic boy, and this was during his school year. Here's the timeline that we have. And the timeline has gotten pretty sketchy. I don't really know how accurate it really is. But from what I can gather, He went out to dinner with his mother that evening. It was a Sunday evening. His stepfather was working in Memphis, the Memphis area. Hendersonville is north of Nashville, about 2.5, 3 hours away, I believe. So stepfather was not in the home. Mother and Sebastian went out to dinner, arrived home about 6:30, 6:45. Remember, it's February. That time it's dark. It's pitch black. It gets dark about 5, 5:30. So he took out the garbage between 6:30 and 6:45. That's the last known time anyone has seen Sebastian, and that was his mama. And that was 6:30, 6:45. He went like all 15-year-old boys do. They went in their room. He went in his room, I'm sure played his video game. And at 9 o'clock, his mother said, Sebastian, time for bed. He said, okay, mama, I love you. Said goodnight to the puppies. And apparently, from her account, those are the last words that he said to her. So from her account, that was around 9 o'clock. But there are two accounts where she stated at 10:30 and then again at 11:30 she heard a thud. She heard a thud. She did not go check on him. She heard a thud. Now at around 9:45, from her account, she spoke to her husband on the phone. Now there are some accounts where she stated she had been studying. She was falling asleep while she was on the phone with him and talked to her husband to about midnight and then went on to bed. So there are different accounts, whether she was studying, whether she fell asleep. It doesn't really matter, I guess. But that was around 9:45, around midnight, she went to bed. So she talked to her husband for about 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours. When she went to wake up Sebastian in the morning at 6:30, he was gone. Now she has stated that what was missing from the home was a keyring flashlight. All of his shoes were accounted for, meaning he would have been barefoot. And it would be cold at the end of February. Now, his father claims he would not have gone barefoot. He was adamant about not going barefoot. He couldn't stand it. He's not the type of child that would have left. So there's a lot of confusion with the story. Another thing that caused some confusion was, did the dogs hit? When Mama called the police, of course, the dogs were summoned. Some claim on the it's not the 911 call, but it's on the patrol radio. It sounds like the dog is hitting at a retaining pond near their home around some construction. Then the family has also come out, and law enforcement states that the dogs didn't hit. Then there was another account that one of the dogs hit to the road. And I'll show you that on the map. And then the scent dropped off, meaning did he get in a car? Who knows? So Sebastian has been gone since February, March, 6 months, nothing. They have not, there's not been a press conference. I don't feel like there's any persons of interest. I don't think there's any type of, it's still under investigation, I'm sure. However, I don't think they feel it's criminal. I think they feel he left the home on his own accord, law enforcement. I'm guessing that. I'm assuming that, and that's my opinion. Okay, Gina's going to give us some info on these. Okay, the scrying I have done was more yes and no question or directions. I have used it for poker games over the years. We'll win tonight. Oh, she uses it for poker. To me, remote viewing is more of seeing a place. Okay. So you use it to, will I win tonight? Oh, you use it for poker games over the years. Interesting. Or go to the casino boat. Pick the right use scrying to pick what machine you should be using. Here's a picture of Sebastian. He was not a big boy, just about 120 pounds, 15 years old. He went to school, and what a darling young man. It's just heartbreaking. Here is his photo showing where was missing when he was last seen after he went out to dinner with his mama. Okay, and so this search has gone on forever. They searched in a landfill in Kentucky. They have searched everywhere for this child. They drained the retaining pond. There was nothing. This is from law enforcement that shows where they have searched in the Hendersonville area. Miles and miles they have searched. Look at that search area. This was on the first day of searching. If you notice the radius, the circles, they kind of draw maps like forensic. I wonder if they do forensic astrology. That looks looks like they use scribble maps, but that's day one of a search. So, and Gina feels like if he left willingly, I don't think he left without shoes. I'm not sure the mom would be 100 on it if all of his shoes were there. I've thought of that as well, Gina. But I may have been a different kind of a mother than his mother. I would not have known what shoes my children had when they were 15, because it seemed like they were outgrowing them as quick as I could get them shoes, or their dads could get them shoes, and I couldn't keep track of any of the shoes. I couldn't keep track of them, let alone their shoes. So maybe it was just a pair of shoes that maybe she had forgotten about. Maybe it was an old pair of shoes that were missing. You just don't know. Unless she's a Virgo and she knows exactly what shoes. Well, let's see if we can get this. If I can get this a little bit better. Okay. Now, here's the drawing. The red dot is their home. Now, this is interesting. This came up at 3:10 a.m. The neighbor that lives around the corner from them turned in their camera. I don't know if it was a Ring camera. At 3:10 a.m., there are what are called mystery lights. Apparently, the claim has been debunked, and the lights that appeared at approximately 3:10, law enforcement calls them garbage truck lights. I don't buy that. I don't think they were garbage truck lights. They can say what they were. I don't see from that angle how they could have been garbage. They didn't look like garbage truck lights to me. If you can see the yellow squiggly line, that's where what I call them flashlight lights would be. A mystery car with headlights on pulled up to where the bottom line is. You can see the mystery car's headlights. You can actually see the outline of the back lights of the mystery car. So I don't know what, and law enforcement has never addressed that mystery car. That's a mystery. Here's a picture of the mystery lights. Okay, now this was turned in, as you can see up to the left. That's where the neighbor's garage lights were on, that overlooked the garage. And the neighbor that's facing towards that back area, that's the camera that picked this up. You had subject 2 walked up to where subject 1 was. Subject 1 left the frame, and then you see subject 2 going back towards those lights, which is towards their home, quicker. So it looks like subject 2 ran up to subject 1. Subject 1 went out of the frame, and then a couple minutes later, subject 2 runs up to the opposite direction. again, there's another view of that. As you can see, the neighbor's garage lights are very, you can see clearly see those lights subject, and the lights are moving. Trucks don't, they wouldn't have, subject one would not have gone back up that way. They weren't headlights. I don't buy Gina doesn't buy it either. Gina doesn't buy it either. Okay, so I mapped it. How did I map it? Here's the thing. I knew where her drawing was. I knew where Silver said this place was, because I'm going to show it to you all. But how do we get the forensic mapping to go there? Or will it? So if we use the 3:10 time, it is a little bit away from the area that Silver and the Reckoning Company had put out as a hit. So I thought, okay, so if we use 3:10, 3:15 a.m., and I researched the time on these mystery lights. Well, come to find out, nobody knows what time those mystery lights occurred. When Sebastian's father viewed the video of the mystery lights with law enforcement, the time didn't move. Now, did they have a ring camera where it just picked up activity? Did the ring camera pick up every 3 minutes? Was that how they had it timed out? Because your cameras can pick up activity every 5 minutes if you wanted to. It can pick up activity just as it goes by, or it could be on continuously. So I thought, well, that time probably was not right. Nobody confirmed that time ever. Even the reporter that got the video, he said we can't really confirm the time. They think it was around 3:10 a.m. because that's what the camera's stating. But when his father went to view it with law enforcement, the time never changed when he was watching the real video. So that tells me it was stuck on the 3:10 or the 3:15. Interesting. So I'm going to jump down this rabbit hole. And she went to bed at 12 o'clock. So let's start at 12:30. So I used 12:30 time instead of 3:15 a.m. Sure enough, look at when I used the 12:30 a.m. And the reason I used that time is because she said she went to bed at midnight. So I thought, okay, that means if he left the house, let's use 12:30 because he would have waited to sneak to go out of the house. He wouldn't have left when mom went right to bed. He would have waited. I've snuck out and snuck in so many times that I was a pro at it. So I know as a sneaker outer myself, I would not have gone the minute my mom went to bed because she would have been up in a flash. Okay. So this is the photo of the area that the Reckoning Company, and I've got a different one too. Okay, I'm going to make this bigger. Silver's on the scene is to the left. Look at the picture of the scrying of the Reckoning Company. Now, she described to the left where the little arrow is that's how somebody went around. That's the house. They went around in a circular motion and went that direction. She described this area as a vacant building. Where the X is, she stated that there were places where water would draining. The water was draining. And she was getting this as a medium does in words. She was getting it in words such as, okay, there was water. Okay. And to clarify it, she would use her cards. it was an abandoned, but of course she didn't. I mean, you can see where she's actually getting it in a clairvoyant manner. It was fascinating. Well, Silver's on the scene had gone down because if you notice to the left, Yogi Bear's Jellystone Park is where Sebastian's father puts his camper when he stays in Memphis and works there. So apparently, Silver's on the scene had gone around to this area and searched. So just by a fluke, while he is watching the Reckoning Company, this gal who's so good, he said, I know that area. So if you see the building that's circled in purple, it is an empty warehouse. He said it is huge. It's an empty warehouse. On her sketch, where she's got the highway, he circled that in blue. There's the highway, and there's the water right in front of the highway. It is fascinating. And the X is the X that she put on her clairvoyant paper, her scribe paper. Fascinating stuff. So I thought, I'm going to see if we can match it. So again, I thought I'm going to use the 12:30 time. Look at this, you guys. Wait, you guys ready for this? Are you guys ready for this? When I used the 12:30 time. Oh, okay. Here is her, the Reckoning Company. Here is her sketch pad and the picture that she got from her clairvoyance. Look at this, you guys. Take a look at 12:30 a.m. Not only did the line go almost to where her X is, that was the ascendant line. Who does the ascendant represent in a natal chart? It represents the victim, or Sebastian. It was 215 miles. That was when I put together the 21 and the 5, the 2, the IC and the AC. You guys have seen me do charts enough. The AC and the IC is what measured out to where that blue pin is on the right of my mapping it. Is that crazy, or is that crazy? So if we're just using the forensic astrology, let me see if I got just the chart. Let me see if I got it. No, my bad. Let me go back to just the chart. Oh, I think I got okay, there it is. So here's the mapping that I did using the 12:30 time. And it goes, look at that circle. It's the 215, which is what the chart told us. But what's interesting, and I used the Hendersonville, I went to the spot where that car, the mystery car, was. If you look over at the pin on the right, that is exactly to a spot where one of Sebastian's family members lives. So not only do we have the spot of where the scrying came in at 12:30 a.m., we have somebody's place of residence where a line went through. What does that tell us? That doesn't tell us somebody's guilty. It doesn't tell us anything. It just gives us information. Because I know when I've given search and rescue people like a map like this, they have gone to like a brother-in-law's house. They've ended up at a place where the guy worked. They've ended up at a family member's house. For whatever reason, and we don't know why the charts do this, it'll just take you it'll take you to different places. Now, it could be just for confirmation. We can't figure it out. Kirsty has always said that she has found that they will find the remains of they can find up to two different cases, two different sets of remains from one chart before. A chart can and will do that. So I think it's pretty phenomenal that we got, that was just from, I was just kind of playing around with it because I was so fascinated with the remote viewing. I thought it was just so fascinating that, number one, that Silver and the gal from the Reckoning Company didn't know one another. And he was watching that and went, I know where that is. And her drawing matched identically to where he had searched. But then we add the chart at 12:30 and it goes down to the miles, exactly to the miles. So I don't know, you guys. I thought that was just pretty amazing that the astrology, number one, this was amazing to me that matched. I was hooked then, totally hooked. And he's got that up on his YouTube channel to watch it. Silver's on the scenes. And I just thought it was pretty cool stuff. But when that line hit there, and it was the 12:30 a.m. line, and we weren't sure of the time. And the thing about doing the forensic astrology with Sebastian's cases, we've never had a good timestamp to do anything with it. So I thought that was interesting, and it gives you just kind of a little bit of an idea of when a forensic astrologist can work with stuff. You really, it can take hours just to do one case. And then, there are times, and Rue can tell you that we will look at charts for hours, days, because we'll have 4 or 5 charts in front of us. But I thought that was pretty interesting. I hope they just check that area, because what she was saying on her video was really interesting as well. So I just think it's really, really neat. Okay, Monica, I'm curious, do the parents still get a social security check, or does it get put on hold while he is missing? I don't know that answer, Monica. They would have to report that he was missing. And I'm not sure about Tennessee, if anybody else knows how long somebody has to be missing before they're declared, gone. I imagine they do not, technically by law. But if I know when someone passes away, you have to call Social Security yourself, or they don't know. Sometimes the funeral home will call, but in this case, he's missing. I would say they are not entitled to it because they don't have the child. So if they are collecting it, I would think that would be it could be a federal crime, I would imagine. What a great question, Monica. Excellent question. Excellent. A question I want answered, and I thought there was a custody issue with the case as well, and I'm still drawn to the headlights. I am too, Monica. I'm very drawn to those headlights from what the biological father has claimed on videos. And now, this case has got a lot of drama attached to it, with a lot of them appearing on different creator shows, and then, just a lot of drama. The father has stated publicly that after the school year, and it's February, that Sebastian was going to come to live with him on a full-time basis. Now, the father has publicly stated that. So I don't know if the mother was fighting the custody issue. I'm not clear on that. Does anybody else know anything about that? If there was a custody issue with them, other than the fact that he was going to go live with his biological father. Isn't that fascinating, Linda? I thought you guys would enjoy this. Thanks, Lee. I find it very interesting as well. We know, because we look at maps and charts every week, we know the accuracy of them. But what's very important with this is when we do find a timestamp, it's interesting that I would definitely, let's say, for example, that all of this pans out. Now, I don't know if it will or not, but clearly the chart was giving us a time of 12:30 a.m. And those ascendants move very quickly. So that line would move pretty quickly. So you go from 12:30 to 1 a.m. and it's going to move. That line will definitely move. The ascendant line is what moves. Now, the other planets don't move as quickly, but the ascendant line would move quickly. So would the moon. That moves very quickly as well. And that is the ascendant line, which represents him. It is fascinating. And Linda says, I have no idea if this has anything to do with it, but I keep feeling his warmth and gentle, firm hugging, like motherly hugging. Oh, I think we all do. I think we've all felt like he's like America's child. I mean, I feel that way. I think he's all of our child. That everybody wants this child to be brought home where he belongs. I mean, I think he has captured the hearts of a lot of people. A lot of creators and a lot of people are willing in the community to search. And I think he's just captured everybody's hearts. I mean, look at his picture, and I think this child just captures your heart. And I know. I know. I feel that way too, Linda. I want him home. I just wish he would come home. The dog scent is curious to me. There's a lot of unanswered questions. And as you all know, with the Summer Wells case and with law enforcement, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. We have seen law enforcement departments where some, like in the case of Madeline Soto, they were giving pressers and giving the public the information. Tennessee doesn't do that. Maybe it's their policy, it's what they feel, but they do not talk about their cases. And I think sometimes in this day of creators and information gets to us quicker than the news. If you want to find out something immediately, we all go to our phones because it hits our phones and on Twitter quicker than it hits or social media quicker than the news. So I think they should think about when you don't give pressers and don't give the answers, like they've never addressed that mystery card. And that mystery card to me is key. Because whether it was somebody that knew Sebastian and has groomed him and taken him away, whether it's someone from his school, meaning anybody that he's associated and familiar with, they've never addressed that card. That's how rumors and the rumor mill gets started because they have not addressed it or put it to bed. Now, I don't know about you all, but that to me is not a garbage truck. Garbage trucks don't run at 3 a.m., even though we're not sure about the time. Could be 6 a.m. But I don't buy it for a minute that those are garbage truck lights. I ain't buying it. And I just don't think they invest, maybe they know something. Maybe they have something behind the scenes that we don't know. And they're holding it to their chest and they're still investigating. Let's just hope they do. It would be nice to have him just found. But I thought that was so fascinating. And then when we have like the difference between like tarot cards. So I'll just tell you guys this information because hopefully I'll have the little oracle deck next week because I think that'll be fascinating. Like when we get done with the map and everything, say, okay, can you confirm that what we just talked about? So tarot decks are, here we go, 72 cards. They're divided up into what's called the court cards, the minor arcana cards, and the major arcana cards. Tarot cards have the same meaning for every card. Okay, for example, my cards are really beaten up. This card is, let's see if you all see it. Okay, see that card? That's the Five of Swords. If anybody picks that card, that is betrayal. Somebody's betrayal. It's a betrayal. If it's upside down, somebody might be falling into their betrayal with their own hands. Okay. Um, let's see. The Fool. Okay, so we've got the Fool card. Okay, the Fool's telling us if you have to make a decision, the universe has you. It's jump. Don't be afraid to jump and take the chances. If it's upside down, if the Fool is upside down, it says, wait a minute, time to pause, think about things, step away. It might not be the time to act. So then, like if we've got the Wheel of Fortune, karma, destiny, upside down, it kind of can show bad luck. Things aren't going the way that they're supposed to be. Just get on a new track. So they always mean the same thing. They have tarot decks have the same meanings. When you get an oracle deck, like for example, if she made the deck, they're usually have writing on them. So the cards are just depending on what the situation is. Now the cards that I'm getting are true crime, which is going to be fascinating to work with the true crime stuff that we do with forensic astrology. And like, can you give us a confirmation on if this map is close? Am I hitting on what we think is going on? Is this the right thing? Or if you guys have questions, we can just pull out a couple cards and see what they say. The Oracle deck. I think it's fascinating. I can't wait. I'm excited. It just kind of adds a new little dimension to what we do every Wednesday anyway. So that is just my little, I thought that was interesting when I saw that video. And I thought you guys would like that. I really did. I thought, oh, they would enjoy this. You know, it's a case, but it's something that we haven't touched on with the scrying and the remote viewing. I think it's fascinating. So if you do remote viewing, we'll try it a couple of times. So just remember, August 24th is the series part 1. This is basic astrology where we learn to interpret your natal chart. Goes over planets, aspects, zodiac signs, houses. It is pretty much basic astrology via Zoom from 3 to 5 p.m. That's that one. And then on the 25th, we have the transit class with Black Moon Lilith and Chiron. Now that's also via Zoom, 3 to 5 p.m. on August 25th. You can PM me or go to astrologymeetstruecrime.com, email me there. And this is sponsored by Silver Wolf Treasures and Gifts with Donna, and it's on the event page for more information. So I think it is. Does anybody have any other comments? I just thought it was so a fascinating way to look at how we can use other things with true crime. And I think it's just super, super neat. It's just, more rabbit holes for me to jump down. God knows I get enough damn rabbit holes with these cases. So next week, thank you guys. Next week, I've got a case too. That's it's a pretty sad case, pretty amazing case. It's coming out of Philadelphia. It's a young gal who was a first grade teacher. She was stabbed 20 times. It was originally ruled a homicide. The medical examiner then changed it to a suicide. She had 3 fatal, what they consider fatal stabbings, 3 fatal injuries. And some of her injuries were post-mortem, but they ruled it a suicide. It's a heartbreaking case. Her family just got word that they were going to look into this. I think it's like the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. This is a wrenching case. And we're going to look at the astrology, see what the astrology tells us about her case. But it's a very interesting case. And we're going to have that next week. And hopefully the little cards will be here. So you guys be careful next week. The rabbit holes. I live in freaking rabbit holes. Oh, okay. I will, Gina. I will. It'll probably be like this week, probably this weekend or next week. I'll get you signed up. I've got you on the list, Gina, for transit class. So you're good to go. And I'm going to work on your transits. I put you down. Thank you. And I know Linda and Heaven are on there. Miss Michelle is going to be on there. And if you took the 101 class and want a little refresher, I'll give you the link. You can join in to that class and get a little refresher before the transit class. Yeah, she had a stab wound to the back of her head. She had stab wounds to her spine and her back. She was right-handed. However, she had stab wounds in her right arm. Now, answer that question. They did not process the crime scene. They did nothing. What happened? What happened? Philadelphia, we need answers. We need to know what happened. This is a beautiful young girl but it's a story. I'll bring that to you guys next week. So listen, everybody, have a great week. I know it's interesting, isn't it? Have a great week, everybody. Like I said, be safe next week. Just pay attention to your surroundings. With the transits are just whacked. I don't know how else you can call it. It's just they're whacked. Just be careful. Watch your surroundings. No, don't look in your phone, and it'll be fine. We won't deal with any fear here. But just know that the energy is very volatile. It's wild, really, and it's exact on the 19th. But it's going to start revving up now. It's already starting, so be careful. Just be very, very careful. So you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I couldn't do this without you all, and I love doing it. So have a great week. And if you want to try remote viewing, try to do some on some of the cases that we talk about and see what you come up with. So have a great week, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday. Bye-bye.